Good morning. I am Adrianne Bogans. I'm the assistant principal from RPM, Reaching Potential Through Manufacturing, a school in Augusta, Georgia. We are a partnership with EasyGo Textron, the golf cart manufacturers. So our kids work part of the day. They go to school part of the day, making $10 an hour for the work they do for Textron. Phillip Bowman is our Textron partner, Director of Operations for RPM, and Jerome Manley is actually a former student. And while Phillip gets started, I will pull up our presentation and right quick, because I was so engrossed in the previous speaker that I forgot to do what I needed to do so we would be ready.
And yes, let's give Jerome another round of applause. Good morning. Thank you for having me here. It's an honor to sit amongst other leaders from the business, from communities, and then especially from the education system. So as Dr. Bogans spoke, RPM, I'm going to let her get back into it here in just a little bit, but if you look at anywhere in the world you go and you see an EasyGo vehicle, at sporting event stadium, it's probably because I centered the presentation and me and technology disagree at times. Sporting event stadium, emergency response, golf courses, resorts, campsites, RVs. If you see a golf cart and it has an EasyGo logo or it has a Cushman logo, that vehicle started and has part of its DNA at RPM. So that program is kind of the launch point for the rest of it. We're not doing busy work. Every part that our RPM students do goes directly over to the other side of my factory, into a finished vehicle and then out to our customers. So all of the things that revolve around efficiency, labor hours, takt time, quality, right? The integrity of the product is all absolutely vital. So it's important that we get it right on the manufacturing side. Now I'm just going to stall a little bit. You want me to go into it already? So
Some statistics.
I'll let you talk RPM kind of holistically, and then
If you want to log into your part, sure. We got the same presentation. So, like I said, we're a partnership with Textron. We were launched in 2016 from the brainchild of Southwire. They will speak tomorrow, and I think one of the main differences in what we do at RPM versus what a lot of apprenticeships and internships is that we're actually in-house. So they learn and they go to school in the same building. So if this were a miniature version of our facility, imagine every table being a workstation. So you all might be making brake pedals. You all might be making tail lights. You all might be making F&R cables. And so everybody at every table is making something different. But everywhere you see a door or a window is a classroom. So everything takes place right there. And I think that's extremely beneficial because the teachers and the supervisors are able to communicate extremely well and provide the support that they need. We target students who, let's say, are not really school friendly. They do have attendance issues. They're credit deficient. They are have family issues, maybe young parents, and so we take all of those students, and that's who we target. And so those problems don't go away once they come to RPM. So we have to figure out how to help them solve those issues. Okay.
All right. Well, I could mirror from my iPad, and it'll take longer than the presentation. What I'll do is I'll get with you and see if I'll send you the presentation, and you can send it out to all attendees or something.
I have a question. What came first, the chicken or the egg, the school or the business?
Well, actually, Jason offered was I'm not sure what Jason's position was.
At that time, I don't know if he had my role at that time or if he was the ISC, the VP of.
Okay.
Of
Very high up, a very higher up in Textron. Jason offered. He read about Southwire in a trade magazine and said, we could do something like that. And so he brought the idea to Richmond County Schools, and at the time our superintendent was Angela Pringle, and so she took some people to Southwire. They had several visits, and then she kind of voluntold my previous principal that he was already a principal at one of the best performing high schools. He had good numbers, just he was a great guy, and so she kind of voluntold him that he was going to be the principal for RPM. And when they started, he was like, he didn't even know if the kids were going to come for real. Like when we started out, they weren't in the facility all the time. They were at their home high school and only came to the facility to work. And then when they're full-time and taking classes. Right. So then when he saw that was a problem, that they may be asleep all day in class and then come to school, or not go to school at all, and not come to work, and then they may not go to school and then come to work, or not do well in school and then come to work. So he was like, well, let's get a tighter rein on them by having everything within the building. And so that's how that happened.
Yep. So, step back in here. This would be really cool if you could see all these. Just imagine wonderful pictures of great students in caps and gowns on a factory floor. Since you can't see the photos, and none of y'all know I'm lying to you until you get the presentation, it looks like a Tesla factory or Bugatti. No, it is. This partnership does have its challenges, right? There are laws around the education system, policies and procedures. There are policies and procedures that govern corporate America and what you can do in the labor sector. So what we've been able to do is find a good middle ground. We have to solve some of those problems fairly dynamically, right? What happens if drug use, for example, right? Seems to be a big one. As an employer, we have all these guidelines that can't allow it, but the school can't prevent them from entering the program. So getting some of that stuff worked out is an ongoing challenge. So it truly does take a partnership there. I want to talk briefly about some of the successes. This program since 2016 has graduated 359 students that otherwise would not have graduated high school. Yeah. And then we will have another 15 more that graduate in May. That's the anticipated graduation, so it kind of fluctuates as they earn their credits. And so they do that, right? They're being paid a wage to work in my factory for part-time. As they approach the end of their tenure there, I send my staff over. We do panel interviews. We prep them for interviews and resumes, and then make offers to the ones that kind of pass through that procedure, I guess, or process. So far, well, since the inception, we have made 135 full-time offers that have been accepted. We've actually made more than that, but we only track the accepted ones. 47 of those are still employed in not all of them are in my factory, because this guy right here is an engineer. Right, so you're one of the 47. There's 46 others, plus your own. Engineering, team leads, supervisors, assemblers, all through our organization. And the average rate of those that are still there, the average pay is $22 and change per hour once they get full time. Starting out as an assembler doesn't quite pay that well, but in addition to that, last semester we had our first graduate that went through our weld certified weld program. So I hired a technical trainer, created a weld curriculum, revamping it a little bit, but basically we're training them. We give them the school piece and then the hands-on piece. They have to be certified before they can weld a single part on one of my production vehicles. So we had to get through that process. He graduated about the time that took place, so we made him an offer, and he's now working in my weld shop along with the rest of the welders, and has a great potential career path. Talked to a gentleman the other day that's kind of mentoring him a little bit. That's an experienced welder. It goes back to that mentorship thing, just to make sure they're plugged in and they kind of know where this could lead. So he's doing great. That's about 40% total. 70% of the graduates in the last 2 years, which is roughly how long I've had the RPM program, we've made offers to 70% of them. So I changed that strategy we've already invested in these young students. We've partnered, right? We've brought the community around them to get them through graduation, to pay them, to train them, to teach them the life skills, the work skills. We've already got this investment. Once they graduate, I will balance out the shop. I told my staff, I don't care if there's one candidate or it's every one of them. There's no quota. Pick the ones that qualify, and I'll balance it out with, also have a temp labor force in my factory. So worst case, they all come over and the temporary labor force goes away, and then we'll work on another strategy. So developing that as the pipeline for the factory and creating careers. It's hard to actually capture the impact in the community. So if you think about the dollar, it may or may have better figures than I do, but the last time I looked at it, was a dollar spent actually gets spent about 8 times in the community, because it goes to you buy gas and then they buy, and then so it's almost priceless, because this is basically 360 students, will be 375 by May, that otherwise may not have graduated, right? And they would have not been able to find a job, right? Our base rate is somewhere north of $16 an hour, and it goes up from there, right? So a welder, I would have loved to have graduated high school and then been given an offer that said, okay, you can now go make $23 an hour as a welder, and at school we already trained you to do this, instead of economics, where you can now go do your taxes, and I have no idea how, but they said I knew how. So it's really hard to measure the total community impact. But when I look at folks like Jerome here and see how RPM affected his life as a high school student, and then he's going to have some more to tell about his story. But then also now, right? Look at him. He's designing the products that then are being started in the factory that he once worked in as a high school student. It's really an incredible story. So, you have anything you want to say? Put you on the spot, but I think you have a different time slot, but I want to give you an opportunity.
Well, as Phillip was saying, I participated in the RPM program. However, I was a little bit on the opposite end of things. I came into the program basically it was offered to me through my guidance counselor as an opportunity due to me having good grades, having good attendance, but I met the income requirements. I have a large family, and at the time we didn't have a whole lot of money. So seeing this job offer essentially while going to school, it was an awesome opportunity to take. And through my time there, I've learned so much about myself and then about others as well, like through their own experiences, and how our differences can really help strengthen us, especially when we work together. And yeah, so if you could start an RPM type program somewhere, it'll really help give those young individuals a second look and a second outlook on life, and just really show them that there's more opportunities out there for them. Thank you.
And we had videos online, and I wasn't expecting it. But again, I'm just getting caught so short, I get so engrossed. But we have videos online that you can actually watch that tell the story of so many of our kids. Like you said, Jerome is an outlier. We got him from a magnet school. We have a technical career, not technical career, engineering and health and engineering magnet school, and he chose us. So he's one of those outliers. But Phillip talked a lot about the kids who go to Textron, and what I wanted to address right quick are the kids who don't go to Textron. We have kids who are going to be teachers in a few years. We have kids who own their own businesses, kids who are in the military, but every single semester I've been at RPM, I never fail to hear these words. Dr. Bogans, I never thought I would graduate. I never saw myself graduating. I'm like, what? That was pretty amazing for me, somebody who loves school, loves education. And so to hear those words and to take kids who were going to be dropouts and to make them into productive citizens who are able to add to the community. Phillip talked about the return of investment. How much of a return is that? And so to like I said, to not only support kids through, if they're through that Textron tract, but to be able to support them in anything they choose to do. In our slide, we had a page, a splash of our family action team. And what our family action team is, like I said, we have kids who come from all situations. And we can't do it by ourselves. So our family action team.
I'm being the president.
Thank you, David White. But our family action team is actually a conglomeration of community organizations that already do that work. They already help people with utility bills. They already help to provide in-care homes for people who are ill. They already help to do all the things that keep kids out of school. What we did that was different was we brought them together at RPM and we present cases to them and say, hey, we have a family who is in need and they have such and such and such and such and such and such. Well, Chriselle will tell us, where our organization can help with the electric bill. And Teresa's organization may say, we can help with furniture. And somebody else say, we can help with rent. So instead of that family having to go around the county to every organization, they come together and volunteer and put together a blanket of services for the kid and for the family. And I think that has probably been the main thing. Our problem, though, is that once they graduate and they don't really have a lot of access to that blanket, that's where we are coming up. In my opinion, that's where we're coming up short. And so to make sure that that blanket continues and that communication continues.
Okay.
What am I missing?
No, I think you got it. Hold on, let me check.
Okay.
Hit next. Click next.
And Teresa said something earlier, Mayor Teresa, I keep forgetting your last name, but she said something earlier, how when we help a kid, we help the family. And just as an example of that, we had 4 brothers. We started with the oldest brother and he wasn't doing what he needed to do. He came in. Well, then the second oldest brother came in and he started, and he was like, well then guess what? We got the third and the fourth. And at one point, all of them were working for Textron. Some of them have gone on and gotten promotions and different things, but even the mother is head of security for Textron now. And their dad even worked at Textron at one point. And now the third brother, Jacob, he matriculated through Textron, and now he's back in the RPM building as one of the supervisors for kids, and just has a lawn service. He's bought, I don't even think he's 22 years old, maybe. Do you remember Soderbergh, Jacob? And so I don't even think he's 22 yet. He's bought 2 homes, has a lawn service, but again, all of that, he was able to get on his feet and make it happen through the work that he was able to do with Textron. So when we do this work, we're changing lives.
Thank you, Dr. Bogans. And one of these days, I may be working for the Soderberghs. I don't know.
Right.
I like to mow the lawn. Again, thank you all. I do want to put the emphasis on, I know this is a corporate and kind of a business and public sector. The primary focus of RPM is to get those kids graduated, right? They have a secondary priority, which is we have to supply parts and do that over there, but including my staff, right? It truly takes a village to kind of raise. My staff all knows, okay, anything, the default is whatever it takes to get the students to the successful point of graduation. We'll deal with the rest of it, right? I've sent folks over from my factories because of, RPM, especially during COVID, right? All kinds of different rules. Doesn't matter. So we'll go do it over there, and then we'll come back over here. But the number one focus is making sure they graduate, and then we do have some opportunities afterwards. But for anyone that's interested in doing this, it's invaluable, right? It's if you want to change the communities that we live, work, and play, start with the youth. Start with the ones that are my age. They're already kind of, me, I'm already a lost cause, right? My neighbors are, oh man, I can't wait till he moves. Start with the youth, because they grow up and have children and families and jobs and spend money and do all those things. So it's just one of those things it's a small percentage of my workforce and kind of the scope, but the largest percentage of my heart by far. Well, and they make me feel like a rock star when I go over there. And it's just, I love it. So encourage other business. If you're a business, encourage that dialogue. If you're a school, encourage the dialogue with businesses that kind of have a like mindset, because, thanks to 12 for Life and some of those examples, we're changing lives. So thank you. Thank you.